Hi guys, my name is Pauline Castulas and this is video 1 of my extensive YouTube series on Big Questions Debate. So today we're just going to lightly go through what Big Questions is, a brief overview of the structure and some resources you guys can use. I'm going to talk about a little bit about myself and my expertise with Big Questions and talk about moving forward what this series is going to look like for those of you who want to follow along and learn a little bit more about Big Questions. So first, a little bit about me. Again, my name is Pauline Castulas. I live in Chandler, Arizona. I am attending the U of A Honors College. I am majoring in a bachelor's in law and I'm minoring in adolescence, community, and education. Specifically with Big Questions, I competed in Big Questions debate my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school at Arizona College Prep. My sophomore year of high school, I placed third in state. My junior year of high school, I placed second, and my senior year of high school, I was able to place first, where then I went on to compete at the national tournament, which included all the state champions in the United States, as well as competitors from Canada, China, and Guam, and I placed top 10 at the national tournament. Throughout my 3 years of high school, I've also bounced around the top 5 rankings in the United States for Big Questions debate. So overall, I would say my skill set with Big Questions is pretty competent. I also started the Big Questions debate team at my high school. All of my students there were ranked top 12, I believe, throughout their 4 years of high school, or however long they competed in Big Questions debate. I also helped found the debate club at New Vista Center of Education, which is an elementary school here in Chandler, Arizona. They are elementary students that compete at the middle school level since there's no circuit for elementary school debate. And they all kind of closed out at state, meaning they placed first, second, and third. And they also have placed first at every single tournament they've attended. So I guess my track record with Big Questions is pretty good. Obviously, a lot of the work is for the students, but they also followed this lesson plan that I'm going to go into moving forward in this series. So I'm putting it out there hoping that it also helps some of you guys who want to learn more about Big Questions and maybe even compete in either middle school or high school. So first, let's go into what Big Questions is. So Big Questions is just a debating format, usually focuses on philosophy, religion, ideologies. It's usually a big overarching question. So it differs than other debates because other debates focus on policies, politics. It's heavily research-based, whereas Big Questions, the way I like to describe it is a basic question of, is water wet? It's kind of just an overarching idea, and it's really good for students who want to maybe transition into debates such as public forum, which focuses on politics, but they want to start off at an easier level. The reason I say Big Questions is easier is because, again, there is a little bit less research and less knowledge you need to go into it. It's very ideological, so it focuses on a lot of logical reasoning rather than factual research, if that makes sense. So it really gets students to think as well, more than in some other debates, which will then help prepare you for those other debates, your thought process and reasoning through it. Another interesting thing about Big Questions is that unlike other debates, you can either have a partner or choose to debate by yourself, whereas in other debates, it's either strict with only 1v1 or 2v2s. With this debate, you can have a 1v2. So it's interesting because you can choose to have a partner or choose not to, which I find very fun. Now I'm going to show you guys a resource that you guys can use to learn a little bit more about Big Questions, because this is really all I'm going to cover. It's the National Speech and Debate Association. So if you look up National Speech and Debate Association, you click on the first link, it's going to pull up this first page. It talks all about the types of debates you could do. There's also a bunch of speech and inter events that you can do. If you want to learn specifically about Big Questions, you would just look up National Speech and Debate Association, Big Questions debate, and this page is the first one that will pop up. It has a bunch of resources and videos as well, all the way from judge training if you want to judge a debate at a competition, or just basic stuff like constructing an argument. So this is also a really good resource to utilize if you want to learn a little bit more about Big Questions. They also have the finals round at the Nationals tournament, I think this past year. So that would also be really cool to watch if you guys want a more hands-on approach to get a more of a better understanding of what Big Questions is. So let's get back into this PowerPoint. All right, so here are some of the basics, I like to call it. This year's resolution, which is a 2024 to 2025 school year, is creativity is a more powerful force than intelligence. So there are two sides, the affirmative side, which is arguing for the resolution, and the negative side, which is arguing against the resolution. The interesting thing about neg is that they don't have to prove the opposite of the affirmative. So they don't have to prove that intelligence is more powerful. They just have to prove that creativity is not a more powerful force. So the way you can do that is you could either prove, again, intelligence is more powerful, or you can prove that intelligence and creativity are equally necessary. Because if they're equally necessary, then that means creativity is not more powerful. The reason the negative has that wiggle room is because typically the affirmative is supposed to be easier to argue, so then they allow neg that extra wiggle room, and they're also the second speaker, so they get to hear what the AF says first. So that's kind of how they go about giving neg that extra advantage. Lastly, I'm going to go into the debate format. So you start off with a 5-minute speech where you talk about your main arguments. The AF and neg both give that speech. Then there's a questioning segment. Then there's a rebuttal for 4 minutes, another questioning segment, and then there's a consolidation on both sides. This is just a fancy word for summary, where you summarize the debate round. Lastly, there's a rationale, which you focus on the very key points of the round and why your points outweigh or are more important than your opponent's, and why the judge should vote for you. Overall, you also have 3 minutes of prep time. You can use that wherever you want throughout the debate round. You can use a minute after constructive, 30 seconds after rebuttal, 20 seconds for consolidation, and then whatever is left for rationale. Again, doesn't matter. You could use all 3 minutes at once. It's totally up to you. In total, the debate round is 42 minutes long. Typically, though, including pauses and just human error, I would say to at least expect 50 minutes. Lastly, moving forward in this presentation, not this specific video, but in my future videos, I'm going to go through each one of these speeches one by one, and tips and tricks, how to rebut, how to perform these speeches. I'm going to go over flowing, so how to flow the debate round, how to basically take notes, that's what flowing is, how to have cards, which is your evidence, how to structure rebuttals. I'm going to go through pretty much everything you need to know, even judge adaptation, so how to adapt to different judges during the round, basic debater etiquette. I'm going to go over a bunch of activities that I've done with my students that seem to be very helpful, and what kind of skill sets they target for those of you who struggle with particular areas of the debate. So feel free to keep watching this series. Thank you guys for those of you who watched this far, and I look forward to seeing you guys all soon. So, bye.